a fake.
This is the way. Truth is, I am Iron Man.
Tells me when you'll feel Memphis.
Hello, critics, non-critics, and friends. Welcome to the Film Optix podcast, where we take a glance into blockbusters, indie films, and everything in between. I'm your host, Christian, and I'm joined by my partner in film, Devin. And today we're going to be giving you our thoughts and insights on Ben Affleck's, I think it's his third or fourth directed film titled AIR that is now exclusively streaming or not exclusively streaming in theaters, it's exclusively playing in theaters. The whole Prime Video thing, it kind of gets you. But this is, the studio behind this is Amazon Studios. Yes, Prime Video, Prime, whatever you want to call it, Amazon Prime. But yeah, we're going to be talking about some AIR today, some basketball. I'm very excited for this because this was easily my favorite movie of the year. But before we begin today's episode, you can listen to our podcast on podcast platforms around the internet. That includes Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and more. And if you are a new or seasoned listener to the show, we would love to hear from you guys. Follow us on Instagram and follow us on Twitter at FilmOptix. That is Optix with an X, or you can email us at filmoptix@gmail.com for any movie-related questions. Devin, how's your week been? What's going on in your life?
Just kind of airing it out, just living life.
Airing it out? Wow.
That was real last second. Really pulled that one out of nowhere.
Hey, it is what it is. It's been a very, I can't even think of one right now.
I actually barely made it. I barely made it to my my movie yesterday because I hit some rough rush hour traffic. I decided to go at 5, and that was like not a good idea. I walked in as the very beginning, like as things are starting. I don't think I missed anything somehow.
Oh, okay. Yeah. It's crazy, man. I mean, so I was able to see this movie AIR. It was a fan. Well, it wasn't a critics only screening. It was fans as well, but I would say at least maybe 50% of the seats were reserved for like Amazon, like not executives, but like, people who were like the reserve seating, and then the rest was for the general public. Devin, I got to tell you, every single seat in our theater was filled, whether it was critics or just fans. They had to turn people away because so many people wanted to see this movie. And this movie came out as of recording on Wednesday, April 5th, 2023. We're recording this on the 6th of April. And yeah, it was bonkers. Like, they had to turn people away because they gave out too many tickets. So it was super crazy.
Yeah, my theater was pretty empty, but I imagine every Chicago theater is going to be completely full. That's going to be the bread is buttered on this one.
Yeah, your old stomping grounds.
Yeah, I'm sure they're eating it up.
Oh, absolutely. But there's something about this movie that really, it's very uplifting, and just the triumph of the human spirit, and just, taking like Campbell literally, and, saying, hey, I believe in this person. For a company to do that, because we'll talk about how dire of a situation Nike was in. But I'm glad you're having a good week. Yeah, mine's been, just kind of trying to push through it all together. And yeah, I watched Army of Darkness and Evil Dead remake that came out in 2013. And
quick thoughts?
Well, for Army of Darkness, I loved it. It was a cool hour, 20 minutes, and it was so much fun. Like, and I knew it was somewhat campy. As soon as he makes his own little metal arm and he's like, groovy, I was like, oh gosh, here we go. It's all over the place.
You're finally recognizing the genius of Bruce Campbell.
Yeah, it's all over the place, but I absolutely loved it. Army of Darkness was so much fun. I loved the campiness. And it was just not at all like Evil Dead 2. And this was written and directed by Sam Raimi as well, which I did not know.
Yeah, all three of them.
Yeah, all three. Okay. So yeah, for those who don't know, I've been on my road to Evil Dead Rise, which is hitting theaters soon. So I watched the original Evil Dead, the home video-esque version, the low budget horror, which was very funny. And then Evil Dead 2, Dead Till Dawn, Dawn Till Dead, one of the two. And then Army of Darkness. And then, obviously, you're going from Army of Darkness, this campy movie, to Evil Dead, the remake, 2013. That came out in 2013. And I gotta say, the Father and Son and the Holy Spirit protect me. I usually do not watch horror movies that deal with, like the demonic side of horror. The closest I'll ever get is like Mike Flanagan when it comes to like his ghost stories and things like that, because I really like those stories because, it's Mike Flanagan. He's a fantastic director, a fantastic writer. But yeah, I haven't really watched anything like that in a very long time. Obviously, me watching like the first two Evil Deads, I kind of gave it a pass because like, they're cheesy 80s horror movies. But in Army of Darkness, it's just cheesy, which is great. But for Evil Dead 2013, they did a great job with
They dialed it up to 11.
Dude, they dialed it up to like 12. And that, I don't think I was watching the unrated version that's out there.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't know there was an unrated version.
There is. So I had to watch it on Pluto TV from the link that you sent me through Twitter. And I was like, okay. And I missed the part where it said with ads. So about every 20 minutes or so, like a 3 to 4 minute ad would pop on. And I was like, it literally takes you out of the movie. I was like, okay, well, it doesn't say, oh, ad starting in 3. It just happens. But that movie was crazy. And I was like, this is probably one of the best horror movies I've ever seen. And it kind of got me excited for Evil Dead Rise. I'm not sure what the connection would be if there is one altogether, because there isn't a connection between, there's a connection between the first three. Yeah, I think they're just one-offs altogether. So I'm very excited to see that. But yeah, that's just like my little mini review of my road to Evil Dead Rise altogether.
Definitely a favorite of mine. So I'm glad you're finally officially dove in and
oh gosh,
you recognize kind of some horror history. It's good to go back and learn about the classics, but not too far back. We're not doing Nosferatu or anything.
No, not at all. Not at all. But it's so, it was, when it comes in, and this is for anyone out there who's thinking about, hey, horror isn't my thing or whatever genre, you just have to kind of lean into it, because the more you're like, I was used to the jump scares. There was a few jump scares in the remake of Evil Dead. I was like, whoa. But like, even for being made in 2013, I think it's a really good movie. I don't know if I'll watch it all that often, because I had a little bit of trouble, just a little bit. But eventually I kind of just got over my nerves. It was a lot that was going on. The premise is awesome and whatnot, but a few little minor rookie mistakes. The guy with the glasses, the guy with the long hair, he's an X, isn't he? I think he is. You know what I'm talking about? The guy who was reading from the book?
I don't know if he is, or if that's just the same archetype used for both movies. Because I know they look similar, but I don't know if it's the exact same. I'll look it up.
Okay. Yeah, because I was like, he looks so familiar. I'm like, he was an X. I swear he was an X. But something also tells me when I was watching that movie, I feel like I've seen it before, but I could have been wrong altogether. But yeah, enough of my chitter chatter. As I mentioned before, today we're here talking about Air, in quotations, quoting a legend, but I believe the movie title is just called Air altogether. So
they are
for
different
this movie,
actors. I confirmed it.
Oh, they are different actors. Okay. I did not know.
Just the classic horror trope of the nerdy glasses guy.
Yeah. I was going to say, I could have sworn, Devin, that they were the same. We're getting vaccines soon. Hopefully by this year. Cause there's, I'm so excited. But as I mentioned before, I got off a little bit off track there. We're going to be talking about Air here today. We're going to be getting into our initial reactions altogether. Since this is more of a adjacent biopic movie, spoiler alert at the end. This follows the history of a shoe salesman, Sonny Vaccaro, and how he led Nike's pursuit of the greatest athlete in the world, of basketball history, or actually, yeah, in the world, I would say, Michael Jordan. Spoiler alert, Nike got Jordan, obviously. So we're just going to be giving our initial reactions for this one altogether. There's no spoilers here. If you're not familiar with the history of Nike for whatever reason, definitely go look it up. It's pretty amazing. I used to work there in one of the retail stores for the better part of my time at college, and it was a lot of fun. But with all that said, after our initial reactions, we're going to get into our final thoughts and our ratings, and we're going to close on out. So with all that said, and without further delay, we'll be right back after this introduction to Air.
What should I ask you?
Ask me why I'm in Wilmington, North Carolina.
Why are you in Wilmington, North Carolina?
Because I believe in your son. I believe he's different. And I believe you might be the only person on earth who knows it. That's why I'm in Wilmington, North Carolina.
All right, Mr. Vaccaro, thank you for coming.
And we are back with our Air review. You just heard a little snippet of the movie. Again, this is exclusively playing in theaters, even though Amazon is the studio behind this movie. And again, this movie is directed by Ben Affleck and written by Alex Convery, this is Alex Convery's first debut ever. If you look him up on IMDb, this is his only credit, is Air. And he did a phenomenal job. We'll definitely talk about that here in a second. And this movie also stars Matt Damon, Jason Bateman, Ben Affleck himself, Chris Tucker, Viola Davis, just to name a few. And I believe Marlon Wayans is in this movie as well. And like I said before, the synopsis is as follows. This follows the history of the shoe salesman, Sonny Vaccaro, and how he led Nike in its pursuit of the greatest athlete in the history of basketball. Arguably, I would say the greatest athlete ever, Michael Jordan. Not Michael B. Jordan. Michael Jordan.
Michael A. Jordan.
Michael A. Jordan. Stephen A. Smith. So, enough of chitter chattering from me. I'm going to pass it over to Devin so he can give his initial reactions to Air.
Yeah, for me, this movie is kind of a combination of just a lot of things that I'm really into. I'm a big basketball fan. I'm a pretty big Nike fan as well. Just kind of enjoy their overall aesthetic and just their history, like you mentioned before. I'm into shoes as well. It's always cool seeing the Jordan ones just on screen. It's the best shoe ever made. I don't think that's very controversial to say, but it's lived the test of time over these past years. It's had plenty of iterations. It just looks so cool. It's the coolest looking shoe that's ever been made. And then I love the 80s aesthetic as well. Just the fashion, the weird dress clothes Matt Damon's wearing, and Ben Affleck just dripped out.
The drip, it was real. That one, his little get up halfway through the movie, I was like, what is this? And I love it.
So perfect. And then the 80s music that goes with it, and just the whole vibe of I just love sports, and anytime there's a good sports movie, it really does hit different. It definitely kind of reminds me of Moneyball as far as the vibes of this movie goes. They're very similar as far as just somebody being passionate about something and following that, even if they could lose everything, and just seeing how that decision plays out and how they kind of execute and are able to get the job done at the end of the day. And this cast is just unreal, and they're all at the top of their game. From top to bottom, every single one of them is giving their A game, and that elevates the movie to a whole nother level than what it really was expected to be. Matt Damon, like I said, MVP. He brought his all for this one. It's great to see. I love Jason Bateman in this one as well. he's one of the best actors working, and he really brought his Jason Bateman-isms to the role. Just his snarky humor is just always welcomed in any role. Ben Affleck, I thought he did a decent job. Phil Knight's definitely a character, so I imagine it would have been a little interesting to play him. Viola Davis, obviously, one of the best. Chris Tucker, welcome back. It's been, I think, 7 years since his last movie. And even then, that was a movie that not many people saw, but it's so good to see him back. When he first opens his mouth in the movie, the whole theater's laughing. Like, it doesn't really matter what he's saying. It's Chris Tucker. Like, it's going to be funny.
Yeah, he's in within the first like scene of the movie, which is great. A great way to open it.
Yeah, Chris Tucker is great. There's a lot of laughs from him. Chris Messina, I thought he was very funny as well in his role as the agent. But like I said, there's just so much to like about this movie. Like the cast, the aesthetic, the vibes, the era, the sports, basketball. I just love it all. I ate it all up.
Yeah. And this I think this is a very interesting review for us because Devin is way more of a basketball fan than I am. Like, I followed basketball when LeBron James, we're both from Cleveland, Ohio. So I followed him for a while when he first...
Yes, I'm able to put my bias aside and watch a Michael Jordan movie, even though I think LeBron is the greatest.
Oh!
I'll put that up there now.
Don't let anyone hear you that. Yeah, sorry. It's already out there. People are gonna listen to it. It's all good. That's a big topic of conversation. My dad would actually argue otherwise and say Kobe because he is a huge
that
Kobe
one pops
fan.
up from time to time.
Oh yeah. But as far as my initial reactions, it pretty much mirrors Devin's. I don't know what it is about Matt Damon and like these dad movies, but like I love him. I don't know what it is. Like he is a great actor. The movie itself just, what's going to happen, obviously, but it's how you get to that end goal. And the way how Ben Affleck was able to direct this, because Ben Affleck is a huge basketball fan. I believe he was also in, did you ever watch The Way Back?
I did not watch that one.
It was a basketball movie as well. And I was like, it just blew me away. But like I said, I believe this is Ben Affleck's either fourth or fifth directorial movie. He's done things like The Town, which is great, but you could really feel and see the love that was put into this movie. When it comes to the writing, the script is so sharp. It is witty. It is funny. It is emotional. The pacing is fantastic for a film that is around 2 hours, maybe a little bit under 2 hours. And like Devin said, when it comes to Chris Tucker, it's been so long since we've really seen him in anything, and he just feels so at home here. You can tell that everyone in this movie was having a great time making it, with everything with Viola Davis, Jason Bateman. You have Matt Damon. Obviously, he plays Sonny. He is the main salesman that we are following. And during this time, Nike it was like the late 80s or mid 80s, which the production design was awesome. I felt like I was in the 80s, which is really it's brilliant. But when it comes to the beginning of the movie, they kind of give you a little bit of the facts that, Nike, when it comes to their basketball division, they are low on the totem pole, with Converse being on top, then Adidas or Adidas, however you like to pronounce it.
I did not know that little background about Adidas, how they got the name, if that's even true. His name was Adolf Dassler, so they called him Adi Das. Like, is that real?
I don't know. We have to check it out.
I mean, everyone knows it's all day I dream about sports. Like, that's kind of how they spun it as to what the letters stand for. But
yeah,
interesting. I don't know if we'll be getting an Adidas movie anytime soon.
Or Converse. Well, Nike owns Converse,
yep.
so that's
Nike bought Converse in 2003 or whatever.
Yeah, I remember that. I was like, oh wow, that's cool. But just getting back to like when it comes to Nike, their basketball division, they were not doing well whatsoever. Like when it came to like running shoes, all that stuff, they were like top of the line. But they're trying to grow their basketball division because they are athletics. And it blows my mind how this entire movie is about, trying to find a future NBA star to represent Nike on the court. And, you got Converse and then Adidas having their star players. And the fact that Nike, and I want people to understand how big of a risk this was for Nike as a company. When you are you're making an offer to a future NBA star, you are making them an offer of your entire budget of your basketball division and making an offer for them to wear your shoes on the court. And not only that, let's say Michael Jordan said yes and he wasn't the best. That would have been very detrimental to Nike. And it's all about, believing in something greater than yourself and almost being like a soothsayer, because you see Matt Damon's character, Sonny, who he watches these tapes over and over and over. And he's like, it's like he's trying to process in his mind, like, man, like, look how comfortable this man is making that 3-point line shot and how much faith that his teammates having him to make sure that he gets the game-winning shot. And it's mind-blowing, because I used to work at Nike, as I mentioned before, in college, and we learned about a lot of the history, everything with Phil Knight. And it's, the the entire company, for the most part, has been about big risks and like taking those big risks and hoping that they pay off and seeing the return of investment. And that's only the beginning, but overall, I loved it. It was like,
I imagine this one's going to get a lot of play in some marketing classes from here on out. Like, just pop this one on when you don't know what to teach, and they'll definitely learn a thing or two.
That is true. I was talking to Dom Fisher over at Geek Vibes Nation, excuse me. He is part of our Film Critic Association here, and he was saying how he feels like this is a perfect companion piece for Netflix's The Last Dance. How, that focuses more on the basketball side of Michael Jordan, and this focuses more on the business side. And we get to see a little bit of Michael in the movie, but it's mainly his back is turned, it's facing the camera.
Yeah, that was kind of like the only semi-complaint I had. It was definitely like Shazam vibes, where you never really see him.
Okay, let's not go there.
That's just what it felt like. And it's weird because I know it probably was a hard choice to make, because it's like, obviously you're not going to get the real Michael, and then you could try to do like a deep fake or something, but then that would just look weird. You could try to find someone who looks like him, but I don't know. It just felt a little weird.
At first it did, but I kind of liked how obviously it's surrounding him, but it's more so focusing on the business side of how things were ran when it came to NBA regulations in the 80s. And how, that silly rule that how they had where, majority of the player's shoe has to be white.
Yeah, I love the lore behind that shoe. Like, I think it's called the Jordan 1 Banned Edition, where just the NBA just kept finding them and banning them because of just being too much color. And it's also just so cool that it's the first custom shoe ever made. Yeah, Converse and Adidas were just putting their shoes on athletes instead of the other way around.
Exactly.
Just how this deal broke the mold for the entire industry and changed everything, because it also was a deal where Michael Jordan was guaranteed a percentage of the revenue from each shoe sold with his name on it, which was never done before. And it changed the entire history for the rest of the athletes moving forward, who can have similar deals and make similar millions of dollars more because of Michael Jordan's mom.
Yeah, and that whole scene was fantastic. Like, I love the push and pull of that whole conversation between Michael's mother, played by Viola Davis, and Matt Damon, who plays Sonny, and how,
Fun fact, the actors who played his mom and dad, that's actually Viola Davis's husband in real life. I thought that was really cool.
Oh, really? Okay, so that is her husband. Okay, nice. They felt at home together.
They had a
cool.
nice vibe going on.
I think he was a football player he was definitely a football player. I remember her saying in an interview.
The actor or the actual dad? Oh, the actor.
The actor, her
His name is
husband.
Julius Tenon.
Yeah.
Yeah, he said he was a star linebacker at Texas
Yeah. Okay.
or University of Tulsa.
Okay, so that's what she had said. She had mentioned it, and I think it was like the Actors on Actors with her and Jennifer Lawrence.
It might have been in Hot Ones too. She mentioned it.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. So, but yeah, it's great how, we were, this whole thing, it's like, it's not like you said, it's not only just getting the greatest basketball player. It's, hey, like my son's shoe is on, it's named after my son. It's the Air Jordan. He needs to be getting a cut of every single sale. And like I was saying, getting back to like the push and pull, where you see Matt Damon, he's struggling. He's like, that's just not how it works. And he keeps saying that over and over because he knows how this business is run. He's really like a soothsayer in his own right when it comes to working at Nike. His office isn't very big, but it's like, it's so crazy how, they finally, they're at a disagreement because of the way how the NBA was, the policies of the NBA back then. And then he kind of comes out, he's like, hey, I agree with you, but it's just, he just keeps going back to this is not the way how things work. If we did that, whatever, that's another risk. Not only are you risking your entire basketball division's, the finances of your entire basketball division, but it's like, okay, great, we got him, but underneath one condition. That's another risk you have to take. And then the other risk is praying that he delivers on the court. So it's so much going on at once.
It's just so high stakes, and there's just so much pressure on the entire situation. And that's what you need to do when you have a movie that's a biopic about something in the past, because obviously we know what happens, but they're able to build up the stakes for it so well.
And that goes back to the writing, really, and the direction. Ben Affleck did a fantastic job with it. I love Ben Affleck.
And to me, it keeps coming back to the cast as well, because it feels like this is a cast where they all just elevate each other. Like when you get in the same room with greatness, like you're going to be elevated to even more greatness because this whole cast just really was on the ball. And
Ben Affleck said himself that, everyone just had fun. Everyone was so, comfortable with each other, and everyone just had a great time making this movie. And it is supposed to come to Amazon Prime Video at some point. We don't know the exact date, but definitely see this in the theater. There's a lot of clips and shots of Michael Jordan. And of course, that speech. I was like, I don't think I've ever heard a better speech in my entire life outside of like MLK. It's like, that was a really good speech.
And that MLK speech part of the movie was really amazing. The fact that he didn't sell the written down speech that he got from MLK for $3 million. The one who kind of helped Michael and Nike connect.
Right. Yeah.
George Raveling was that coach's name. And that's also, I think that's my favorite part of the entire movie, is that every single real life person got their due credit for how this all unfolded. Like even down to the smallest of roles, they all got their time to shine. They all got recognition, every single one. And I like that, because it's not just one guy. It's a whole group of people that got this done.
Right. Yeah. It is a collaborative effort. And, you see that when Michael and his family walk into the room, and, we see the other meetings that happen with Michael's family where they meet everyone from Converse and Adidas. And it's like, yeah, you can kind of see how they don't really know who the main person is running this operation is. And, they're just trying to close out on a deal. And I get it, that's business, but they didn't have it's not, you could spin it as, oh, well, Nike was desperate, but like, I mean, yes, but at the same time, they did the thing. They put up the money, and they met a player's conditions when it came to, hey, like if you're going to build a shoe around me, like that's great, but I want a percentage of it because my name's on it. And, and there's an even deeper meaning for that. It keeps going on and on. But, we could sit here talking about it all day. But, Devin, is there anything else you wanted to mention about this film before we hit our final thoughts and ratings.
Yeah, I imagine this one would be a killer combo with Moneyball, just kind of a 1-2 punch if you're ever in the sporty mood, because they're very similar, like I mentioned before, and they're just great insights into like the inner workings of what sports can be and the passion that is needed in order to get things done, especially when other people aren't willing to do it. It's very inspiring to watch overall. There's not really too much as far as complaints for this one. I kind of wish we got a little more background on Sonny and Phil specifically as to how they got to where they are. More so Sonny, because I feel like we got a little tiny glimpse of what his past was as far as his conversation with Michael's mom. But other than that, I'm very interested in him as a person. I've never really read up too much on him. So it would have been cool to see some more on him. But other than that, just really solid.
Yeah. So what would you rate this film?
Yeah, I'd probably give it like an 87. Like it's really good.
Okay. I was gonna give it a 95. I really like this movie. And this is for someone who doesn't, I'm not like a big basketball fan anymore, but like, I mean, you know, we used to watch Michael Jordan. Obviously, we grew up more so with LeBron James or LeBron James.
And I think that might be a little bit of the issue for me is because I am a basketball fan. Some of the references are like really on the nose. It's like, oh, they said the thing. They said the name. They said this person.
Just
they
do
said
it.
that person. Yeah. Like some of that's a bit on the nose. Like it feels like they could have cut some of that out, but just nitpicks.
But yeah, for sure. You know, it's you know, it's like me in the Mario movie. Like I loved it, you know, as a game, and I'm just like, little nitpicks, you know, with the story just being a little underwhelming, but that doesn't really stop it from, you know, being like a fun time. But I totally understand that makes 100%. That makes sense to me, 100%. So yeah, so 95 for me. You said 86. Sorry,
87.
87. Okay, that was one off. 87 from Devin, 95 from me. I wonder what would the median between an 87 and a 95 would be, because I want us to like have like an overall score. I think that'd be pretty cool.
Probably like a 91 or something.
Yeah, 91. Yeah, so 87 from Devin, 95 from me. Medium score would be 91 altogether. So boom, we just solved the Rotten Tomatoes problem. Well, it's not much of a problem. It's just people forget how Rotten Tomatoes works. Every time there's like a movie that they like, and they're like, why don't critics like it? And it's like, it doesn't really matter. 55%, was it 56% for Mario Brothers? Those are the amount of people who liked it. But I do think they would benefit from having like a medium number in there between audience and critics to kind of, you know, stop the divide. So yeah, that is a wrap on today's episode. If you like what you heard on today's episode, please subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcast platform of choice. And make sure to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Film Optix. That is Optix with an X to stay in the know. And make sure to always share an episode of our podcast with a friend, whether it be your mother, your brother, or your significant other. Make sure to share an episode of the Film Optix podcast with a movie lover in need. And now let's take a sneak peek at what's coming up next on the show. So what's on deck, I should say. We have our Mandalorian Season 3 review, which will be dropping within the next 2 weeks. We're just waiting for the rest of Mandalorian Season 2 finish up. You can check out our thoughts on Episode 1. As of right now, we only did that a few weeks ago, but we'll be covering the rest of the episodes in our Season 3 review. And then we're also going to be covering Evil Dead Rise within the next week or two as this is dropping. And we're also going to be covering some HBO Max limited series, Love and Death, starring Elizabeth Olsen. Very, very excited to dive into that. That will be the first 3 episodes we'll be covering for you guys. And then depending on how the rest of the series goes, we'll probably do a full season review. But what's out now that you can listen to our Dungeons and Dragons Honor Among Thieves review, as well as our Shazam 2 and John Wick Chapter 4 review, and our Scream 6 review as well. Very excited. Definitely check out a lot of great movies that we've been watching.
These movies are really flying in. A lot of good stuff.
Dude, I know. It's hard to keep up. I was like, what's going on? And also, you can listen to the Super Mario Brothers movie, which we just recorded a few days ago. So definitely check that out. And with all that said, thank you for listening. And remember, if you enjoy our show, leave us a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And follow us on Twitter and Instagram to stay in the know. I'm Christian, and that was Devin signing off. And we'll see you guys in the next one.
Peace.